The canteens do not serve ice popsicles anymore. So they literally did not know what an ice popsicle was and how to even consume it. We are very clear in our quality motto. The brand equity is quite high thanks to being on Shark Tank India.
After the Shark Tank, how much was the impact on the sale?
A lot of startups misunderstand this kind of a spike as a continued path of growth.
Hi Ravi, welcome to the podcast. And before I begin, I just want to mention that before this podcast, I was discussing this thing with my family in my office, and they were all super excited. My kids were excited because of the obvious reasons. They have been consuming your product. And my office people, my parent, my wife, they were excited because we all have seen that TV show on Shark Tank, and you both were looking awesome. I think you broke all the records also in terms of offerings that you got. And I'm super excited to have you. And I think we all are going to learn a lot from your journey. So my first question to you, Ravi, is please tell us about your journey and what are the market gaps that you saw so that you started this brand, Skippi?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm equally excited, firstly. Me and my wife, Anuja, who's also the co-founder, we have more than 32 years of experience in the F&B space together. Lived in Australia for 7 years, and that's where we realized that Australia has their own ice popsicle brands. And this happened very coincidentally that my sister who had come to stay with us, she was packing up the local ice popsicle brands from Australia and bringing it to India for her kids. And I was like sitting there and just observing it, and I was like, why do you even have to take it? I'm sure India mein bahut sare ice popsicle brand honge. And then she turns back and says that absolutely nothing. There's not a single brand that I trust. And as an entrepreneur, this is where the eureka moment happens, right? You start to think on a single idea that occurs to you. And I'm like thinking, 140 crore people, such a hot and humid climate, how come there's no ice popsicle brand here? And I picked up my phone and asked a couple of my friends to go around in the supermarkets asking whether there is a ice popsicle brand there. Luckily to me, none of them came back with a yes. So that was where I thought that there was a gap in the market. I think it could work well. But then there was a lot of things that had to be done because in the time that I had been overseas, India had progressed into having natural ingredients, organic products and stuff like that. So we had to literally sit down and then jot down things of how the brand would be positioned, what the product is going to be like, what the ingredients are going to be like. And I was equally super excited because somewhere the ice popsicle brand is super nostalgic. And I was so excited to bring it into the market. But I thought, 20 rupees is very difficult to sell. How am I going to make money? So the idea occurred to combine it as a pack of 12, make it as a 240 rupees price point, and then give it to the public. And it was exciting. And obviously, after 3-4 months of launch, Shark Tank India happened. And I guess everybody knows what happened that night.
Right. I mean, it was super, super awesome. I mean, I think everybody was offering you. I saw that show and there were multiple offers. It never happened before. And I think you were all fighting, and then you got all Shark deal in that show. It was great to see. And the nostalgic thing you said, right? I mean, I've also consumed those products in my childhood, those ice chuskis, that orange chuski, that cola chuski. And it looks really great to see a brand with all the compliances there, all the natural ingredients building in India. And you have been the first. You were the first people, right, who started such a thing in India, as you said, right? There was nothing like in India. If you look at my example also, my story is similar. When I started Geeks4Geeks, there was no interview preparation platform for engineering students. They were all going to some Stanford PDF files, and they had no idea how to prepare. So I was also surprised to see, there's nothing like this in India, and there are so many engineering students, they don't even know what to prepare for companies. So finding this gap must have been a great opportunity for you to start in India, and then you came to India because of this idea only, and then you started, or?
No, see, I actually came down to India because of personal reason. My dad wasn't keeping too well, and he was fighting cancer at that moment. And I wanted to be with my family, with my father during his course of treatment. But obviously, when I wanted to come back to India, I had done jobs in Australia, and then I thought, okay, this time let me start something of my own. And that's where I wanted to look for opportunities. And Skippi happened like I mentioned, it was very coincidental that it occurred to me, and then we got started with it. And to be honest, on the first point that you mentioned, there are always gaps in the market. It's just a matter of you paying attention to the details of where the gap is and then identifying the potential of the gap and then bringing it into the public. I think you've done this exactly the same thing at the right moment where the market needed people to come online and train the new candidates. I think that's where the gap was and you could identify it as well.
Right, Ravi. So, for you, market research must have been a big thing, right? When you decided that there's nothing like this in India, so you must have done a lot of research. So, if I want to do a startup in FMCG, how much market research played, and how did you do that market research, and how much helped you?
See, in FMCG, most of the product today will have some database online itself, which is like a secondary research which you could do. In our case, unfortunately, in India, there was no ice popsicle brand, so there was absolutely no data points that we could look at that whether the the product category was growing or whether somebody else was doing great. There was absolutely nothing for us. But for FMCG, like I was mentioning, whether you go into shampoos, beauty care products, or whether you get into food products, there's always some kind of a number which you can actually depend on. So what we did as a startup, and this is some Jugadoo idea that we did, is we made a few ice popsicle in our kitchens. No brand name on it, no barcode, no EN number, nothing. And we said, okay, let's get into the market. Let's try free sampling there. So Anuja and I, actually, there's a cinema theater here called Prasad's IMAX. We actually stood in front of Prasad's IMAX with a thermocol box with ice and frozen popsicles inside. And we started to give it free samples to people. And we saw that out of 120 or so popsicles, 40-50 went off like this in thin air. And then I said, Anuja, let's hold on. I'm sure India mein free to har cheez chalta hai. Let's try whether people are going to pay for it. So we randomly said, okay, let's charge 20 rupees. And people started to pay 20 rupees. So I think for a startup of our size who are newly into the market, this kind of Jugadoo ideas are always important. If you don't have money, and which we didn't have, it's the best thing that you go into the market and ask people whether they like the product, they want to buy it or not.
I really like this story that you yourself went there and started selling it, first offered for free. I was, I could relate it to the Flipkart story. Those founders, they were selling books in Delhi, right? Yeah. So it's really nice to hear. So Ravi, I know your product is being consumed by kids. My kids consume it regularly. And even people like us, when we consume those products, we feel like nostalgic. We have consumed it in the past. They were not branded products like you, but we feel like nostalgic when we look at those products, and we also want to consume those products. What is the target audience that you prefer? I mean, what is your preference? You want it to be reached to the kids only, or you want it to be reached everywhere?
See, to be honest, when I started off Skippi, I assumed that it's going to be a kids brand. But when I got into the market, within a few weeks itself, I realized that Skippi was actually a brand, a product, which was exciting to the 30 plus years of age more than the kids. Because of nostalgia that they've had the popsicles in their schools and colleges, they just loved it and they just jumped onto it. But on the contrary, teenagers and school kids have grown up in schools and colleges where the canteens do not serve ice popsicles anymore. So they literally did not know what an ice popsicle was and how to even consume it. That's where we realized that it's better to target the 30 plus years of age, and they understood the brand and the product so well. They gained a trust on the brand, and then they started to pass it on to their next generations also. This is also historically proven with a few other brands in the US and Canada, which have been there for 30-40 years. And if you look at the forums, there is a grandfather who's talking about the brand, and there are grandkids who are also talking on the forum about the same brand. So it's passed on from generations to generations. That's the beauty of this category actually. So today, Skippi is a very neutral brand. We're targeting everybody from 30 plus years of age because everybody wants to have it. Maybe going forward 7-8 years down the line, it will predominantly become a product where the repeat customers will be kids. But even then, I think 30% or 40% of the customers are still going to be the adults, 30 plus years of age.
Now, my next question is for a brand like us, if you look at Geeks for Geeks, the way we sell our courses and products is people consume Geeks for Geeks free content. They come to our practice portal, which is freely available, and then they consume the courses also. They start loving the brand. For you, how do you do marketing? How do you acquire customers? And how does marketing work for an FMCG brand like you?
I think our product is something which is very well positioned for fun and excitement. Social marketing, social media presence is equally and super important for us at the same time. One is firstly to bring an awareness that this category exists, And secondly, we bring in the fun element in our social media content as well to excite people to buy the brand and the product. I think going forward, we will continue to leverage on our fan followings, our followers, our customers, and continue to add more variants into the pipeline, so that every time we have something new to offer to the customers. And I think in our case, as long as we are able to communicate to our customers that this is a brand that you can trust in terms of quality, and also that we bring amazing flavors and taste to our profile, they just love it. So it's just a matter of reaching out to them.
And what is the USP of your product? I mean, how do you say that it's unique product and this is why you should consume it?
See, the biggest USP is, as a founder, first of all, I'll take a step back and tell you about it. Anuja and I are parents of 2 kids. We are very clear in our quality motto. Our motto says that if we cannot serve it to our own kids, we will not serve it to our customers. We are hell-bent on that. So as a leadership team, both of us are very clear that whatever products we bring into the market should have some kind of a value proposition which we can offer to our customers. That being said, our brand is currently made from a patented technology. We are the owners of the patent, and that is what makes the quality and the entire consumer experience so unique. When you bite the ice, you will find a uniform texture throughout. You will not find a residue of color on your tongue like a synthetic color or a flavor, which makes you understand that this is 100% natural. There's no aftertaste which comes into the popsicle at the same time. And of course, the brand equity is quite high thanks to being on Shark Tank India, that people now believe that the leader in the ice popsicle category is Skippi, of course.
Right, that actually happened. And my next question is about that only. So, Shark Tank, when you went there and everybody liked the show, you both were looking awesome. So, after the Shark Tank, how much was the impact on the sale and how much was the impact on your business, overall business and branding and everything?
Yeah, amazing question. A lot of people do ask me about it. See, one thing what happens on being on Shark Tank is, first of all, as a startup, you get that 15 minutes of marketing for almost no cost at all, right? So every brand needs to and must plan to go on Shark Tank India, not just for the sake of marketing. I think even the investment that comes across from the sharks is equally valuable there. After Shark Tank, what really happened is the entire ecosystem or the entire consumer base understood that there is this same ice popsicle or ice Pepsi or Chusky, which I had in my school days, which is back in the market. So everybody jumped onto our website. Our sales picked up like crazy. I mean, we were a small team of only 14 people. Our website crashed. We had more than 4,000-5,000 orders in a single hour. More than 3-5 lakh people hitting our website. The numbers are extremely high. And my team was under extreme pressure to perform that particular week. But see, what happens is a lot of startups misunderstand this kind of a spike as a continued path of growth. It is not such. A lot of startups in the other seasons also have said that, the spike goes on for 2-3 weeks and then it starts to come down back to normal. But in our case, what we did is we continued to keep up that momentum. We got a great elevation from Shark Tank and then we started to grow onto that. We created our distribution channel, we created our online presence more strongly. So we went bang, 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 bang after Shark Tank. We didn't take a rest at all after that. That's how it really impacted our business.
So you very well utilized this opportunity and just kept growing from there.
Yeah. I think that's what entrepreneurs do.
Right. And I've seen the growth. I mean, before this podcast, even I searched on YouTube about Skippi. I saw a lot of videos and a very, very good number of views on those videos, people appreciating your product. And I was amazed to see that. And that's why I was super excited to meet you also.
Same here, man.
So you talked about website being crashed, and I see this as a good thing. When your traffic grows up, your website crashes, then it means you are actually growing. You fix it and you scale it to a higher level, you add more CPUs, and then it works and then again crashes. It means you reach the next level. How are you managing your tech? And I understand it's an operational business, operation heavy business, but you must be using some tech. So what tech you use and how you manage the tech team?
So see, no matter how much I say this, the business is always going to be a traditional distribution, online, equally online business, which is again going to grow from brick to brick, because end of the day, the product has to physically reach the customer. So it's going to grow gradually. But still, as a new generation business, we have started to implement tech at every checkpoint where we could. Our team today across India uses a Salesforce automation software so that we can see the performance, we can see gaps in the market, we can go and cover bigger markets and better markets. We use an ERP within the office to understand our inventory management better. We try to use tools which can help us forecast the supply and demand forecasts as well. So in a lot ways, we are using technology. We have a CRM platform as well. But I think there is still room for a lot better technology to come and play a significant role in this FMCG line, especially for brands who are looking at it as an omni-channel, both online as and offline. I'm sure there are a lot of tools available online for brands who are online only, but when it comes to brands who are doing both, the offline part also, it's equally difficult. And the biggest pain in FMCG industry is that at the end of the day, the distributor, the sales team at the ground level, they need to be well equipped to understand the adaptation of technology. And that's where we always face a challenge, because a lot of distributors in different parts of India, either they do not speak great Hindi or they do not speak great English. So language barriers do happen, and adaptation of technology gets very difficult, because maybe that distributor is already using a technology from another brand, and then why is he going to shift on to my given applications and technology at the same time? So it's always challenging, but I think one fine day there will be a single point contact kind of a software on an application which will help brands of our size.
So the way I understand is the biggest challenge is to make the people use the tech product so that they can use it really well and they don't create any problem and they don't use it in the wrong way. I mean, that's the biggest challenge in the business.
It is quite difficult.
And what is the long-term vision of the company? You've got all the success, you've got all the fundings required. Now, what are you looking at in the long term?
I think the focus is very clear. We want to be the exciting brand of India. Ice Popsicle, the category that we have created, is going to be a multi-billion-dollar category within next few years. Just wait and watch. I say this very confidently because, see, ice cream industry took close to about 25-30 years to reach about $4 billion market size today. But ice cream definitely has two big challenges. One is the cold chain supply or the refrigeration part of it. And the second is the median price of ice cream is 70 rupees across India. Ice Popsicle, we are bringing it in an ambient temperature. There's no distribution channel at all. You can keep the Ice Popsicle stored for 12 months within your room itself. And the price point is only 20 rupees, which is not heavy on the consumer pockets. So my vision is very clear that I'm going to make the Ice Popsicle Skippi as a brand which is going to be across every household in the next few years. And we will try and penetrate the tier 2 and tier 3 towns also. And I'm sure we'll be competing with the ice cream brands in the next coming few years. And that being said, because we have a brand equity of fun and excitement, we will bring in a few extra products, different products in the market, which people and consumers will be very exciting to have. I think all of you would know Skippi corn sticks, Skippi cream rolls.
Yeah, I saw those new products recently being launched.
Yeah, so they've come into the market and people are very, very excited about it because that's something new that they can actually have on a day-to-day activity.
And the kind of products that you're bringing in, they look very connected. I mean, cream roll is something that we all have consumed in our graduation days in canteen with chai and all. So that strategy is really well done by your team. They very well connect with the people and the audience. Great work there.
Thanks on that.
So now coming to the next question, you worked in the FMCG industry past, and then you have your own company. What are the challenges in this industry? And one more entrepreneur type of question that I have is like, many times you feel that why did I work in another company for that long? Why didn't I start earlier? And I could have grown much more by this time, by this age. Do you get this feeling?
So I'll answer the second question first. To be honest, there is no late or early time to become an entrepreneur. When I was with my dad's business, I was kind of a semi-entrepreneur. It was a family business and I was free enough to take my decisions and grow the business verticals different way. But again, that was not like a startup because my dad had already done that business for 30-40 years altogether. But the importance of working for somebody else, and when I went to Australia, I was very particular that I will work in the F&B space only. Because firstly, that was my expertise, my interest area. And then I wanted to understand how brands are built, how such large organizations like Krispy Kreme and George Weston Foods in Australia, how do they run their operations? How do they scale up so big? That experience of 6-7 years which I worked in these organizations, when I came back to India, I was successful so far in implementing a lot of such ideas. So I think there's never anything wrong and bad about working for somebody else, because that number of years will definitely give you experiences in what to do right, what not to do wrong and stuff like that. So I think I'm pretty okay to start at this age. I'm not too old anyway, so I think not a bad time for me to start here at all. Coming to your first part of the questions, FMCG line. I think FMCG is a very price sensitive market in generic. Lot of brands are coming up, and I will tell this very openly on the camera. There is a huge influx of health brands across India. I know that India is growing in getting health awareness. But if those health brands are coming up at a price point which are not really comfortable with the consumer pockets, it's never going to scale up to 4, 5 or 1,000 crore brand at all. A lot of these FMCG brands are coming with very expensive premium product which is only targeting the top line. FMCG is a lot about volumes as well. So people need to have a good balance between...
Parle-G is a great example.
Absolutely. Look at Parle-G across India. I think they are the largest brand across the smallest of smallest outlet, right? And we need to understand that as much as you cannot compete on price, Parle-G's price point, but again, you cannot be super premium at the same time. So FMCG is a place where people need to grow and gradual growth and have to be very about what price points are you touching upon, who's your target audience and stuff like that. Very important.
All right, Ravi. So I also started my entrepreneurship journey with a job. I worked in a software company for 2.5 years, and there I also learned a lot. I learned how to write quality code, how to make the code readable. That helped me in building the content that I built on geeksforgeeks. And then I worked in a college as a teacher, and that's where I learned how to teach certain things. When I was explaining something, people were not getting it, I was explaining it again. So I was able to write the content that could connect with the people, that can make them understand. So work experience definitely helps. I mean, I completely agree with this point. Now my next question about your business. If I look at my business, we run a lot of tech, and it's easy to scale when you are completely tech and you are kind of operation heavy business. So how difficult it is for you to scale, and how have you achieved the scale that you have achieved from the time when you went to Shark Tank to the, as you said, suddenly you saw a scale and you could maintain that scale. So how did you achieve that scale, and how difficult it is for the aspiring people to achieve that scale in the FMCG business?
See, I'll be very honest in telling you that our scale predominantly came from the consumers, their excitement towards the category. After Shark Tank India, you will not believe, every day my team was getting about 1200 to 1400 calls asking for distributionship across India. So the scale actually came from the consumers itself, the customer itself, saying that we want this brand because we confidently believe that it's going to scale up crazily. But in an offline business where a product is being dealt on, scaling up too fast is very difficult. Had I probably been building a technology software, it might have been easier. I don't know. You are the best person to answer that. But scaling up becomes very challenging because right from the raw material intake till the consumption, there are so many different verticals that needs to have a good checkpoint. And then the customer consumes the product, and then the cycle of consumer experience being shared on social media platform happens, and the brand building comes on top of it. So this is a very challenging journey because it's from point A to point Z. And I think scaling up becomes very challenging. But in our case, what we did good was we focused being an omni-channel from day one. We created an offline base and we focused on online growth as well. A lot of FMCG brands, they shy away from the offline business and they focus a lot on the online. To be honest, online is great for brand building and to create awareness in the consumer space. But when it comes to making real profitability or money, I think online is a little shy away from that. Real business or real money, cash comes from offline business always because there's customer loyalty in the offline business. I always say this to people that people are not going to drive 5 kilometers just to get 20 rupees discount, right? They're just going to walk down at the end and buy from the nearest store. So we kept scaling up that way, and offline and online, the omni-channel presence actually helped us a lot. We were kind of a bit more lucky, I would say. A lot of other brands will also face similar growth or better than this, but scaling up will always be a challenge in the offline industry.
See, your first point is completely valid. When it comes to scaling, even when you are running a tech business, if people are not consuming your product, what will you do with the high-end servers and high-end, all the infrastructure? It's all driven by the consumers. But we tried doing offline centers. We did offline center in Bangalore, then Pune. But there are a lot of challenges that come in when you go offline. Yeah. Sometimes the mentor is not coming to take the classes. Sometimes the AC is not working. Sometimes something happens. And I see your business is kind of same because you started those ice scooters also, right? That's what you call them, or do you call them?
Yeah, we call them ice scooters, like the franchisees. Basically, there are franchise partners, but the idea was to bring them into the market for creating brand awareness. You are talking about it. That means somewhere you have seen the brand, the scooters there, right? So yeah, that's the idea.
My main question is, I personally face a lot of challenges, but your business is kind of mostly offline, right? So must be a lot of challenges that you must be facing. What did majorly help you? Did you make some rule books that everybody has to follow these rules, and did you make those rules very strict for everybody, your clients, your consumers, and your people who serve those consumers, or was it like you were like working very, very hard to make sure that nothing goes wrong? What worked for you?
See, I'll be very honest on your platform today. We are still making a lot of mistakes. Hell of mistakes we make every day. We are not at all close to perfect, because that's how the startup journey is always, right? You learn from your mistakes and you grow. But one very important secret I would want to share here, and this secret or this tip was given to me by my family business, my father's business. The biggest thing that we did correct was we did not offer credit. We did not offer credit to our distributors, to any customers at all. We said, if you want the brand, you pay advance, you give the money upfront and you take it. That helped us actually have a great cash flow, working capital in line. And I think at a startup stage itself, you need to be very clear about it. Your business might grow gradually, your sales might not be great, but if you create a great policy, a good a checkbook or a rule book for yourself, that I will not give credit, I will not do this, I will not do that. I think that is the fundamental base of the business today. Today, across India, whoever our distributors or super stockists are, they know that we don't offer credit line, because we want to keep it very safe, because that's one less headache for us to go and chase for money now. So I think that worked for us. Operationally, we are still facing huge challenges, whether we get the funds or not, huge challenges every day.
Right, that's true. And I think that point is going to help a lot of people, because when you are running your kind of business in India, I mean, giving credit is definitely a big problem. I mean, my brother was doing this business. He had an agency of an FMCG company, and all the shopkeepers, they were taking things on credit actually, and he was running after them for money and all. It was a big problem. I think that's a very good point actually. Now, my final question to you is, do you want to say anything to the people who want to enter into your business? Some caution points that these are the things you should take care of, these are the things you should do and you should not do.
See, I think FMCG business today, and under the FMCG, again, the food and beverage business is here to stay. Nothing is going to replace food and beverages with something else, right? Everybody wants to eat every day. I think there's a huge space for multiple brands to come into any sector today. But the most important part is that you need to have a differentiation factor always available, a USP. Either you're positioning your brand differently, or your price point is focusing to a different TG, or you have got a great marketing activity which probably the other competition is not able to build. India is ready for multiple brands for sure, but it's probably a little away from Me Too brands. People don't enjoy similar type of products coming in, because there's then heavy competition that will hit your head. I think as long as you're creating some unique proposition in a very congested category segment, it is still okay. But positioning yourself differently is very, very important. And getting the fundamentals right is very important. I focus a lot and talk a lot about unit economics. People are carried away with the fun thoughts that investment aa jayega, I will raise funds and blah, blah. We need to understand that investment is to scale your business, not to run your business. You need to be self-sustainable, you need to be profitable, so that you can run your business in a long term, whether or not an investor comes to you. That's super important.
Those are very valid points, and I think the audience must have learned a lot, particularly the unit economics point and the point about investment that you mentioned, right? It's not there to run your business, it's just to scale the business. And I mean, in my entrepreneurship journey, and whenever I go to colleges for talks, whenever somebody asks what are the biggest challenges and biggest things as the entrepreneur, that's my answer always. Make sure that your finances are right. Make sure that your unit economics are right from day one to end. See, there are certain things that you don't have to take care when you are in initial stages, compliance and all. You don't have to worry that much until you reach a certain state. But finances, like always you have to take care. Always you have to be very sure that you have right unit economics and you're taking care of finances really, really well. So thanks Ravi for this message, and I think it must have helped a lot of people. And so, guys, this was this podcast, and I guess you must have learned a lot. You and Skippy is something we all must have watched this Shark Tank show, and we all must have enjoyed. My family, in fact, enjoyed it a lot. And we'll be bringing more such videos. Please do like, subscribe, and share this video.